I stood in the rain outside Chicago's Union Station on my 21st birthday, my hands shaking as I read the text one more time. Don't come home. We've changed the locks. Your room is now Emma's art studio. Just like that. 21 years. And I was erased in a single message from my mother. 6 hours earlier, I'd been sitting in a hospital waiting room, my phone buzzing with birthday messages I couldn't bring myself to answer. Dad had collapsed at work. Massive heart attack. The doctors said the next 24 hours were critical. I'd driven 3 hours from college, my hands white-knuckled on the steering wheel, my mind racing through every memory of him teaching me to ride a bike, helping me with calculus homework, walking me through campus on my college tour. When I burst through the hospital doors, I found my mother and my younger sister Emma in the hallway. Not crying. Laughing. Actually laughing. Emma was showing Mom something on her phone. Both of them smiling like they were at brunch instead of a hospital where my father was fighting for his life. "Oh, Vanessa," Mom said when she noticed me, her smile disappearing. "You didn't need to come. Dad had a heart attack. Of course I came. We have it handled. Emma's been such a comfort to me." "Haven't you, sweetheart?" Emma looked up from her phone just long enough to smirk. "Yeah. Unlike some people who only show up when it's convenient." My stomach dropped. "I drove 3 hours the second you called." "You mean the second we bothered to call you," Mom corrected. "The doctor said he needs peace and quiet. Family only. You should go back to school." "I am family. I'm his daughter. Emma's been here for us. You've been too busy with your little college life to even visit in months." That wasn't true. I'd come home 6 times that semester. But every time, I'd been met with cold shoulders, doors shut in my face, plans that suddenly included everyone except me. Emma had moved into my childhood bedroom within a week of me leaving for college, repainting it, throwing out my things. Mom had said it was more practical since Emma was still in high school and I barely visited anyway. But this was different. This was Dad. "Please. I just want to see him." Mom's eyes went cold. The doctors were very clear. "He needs to be surrounded by positive energy right now. You've always been so dramatic, so negative. It's exhausting, Vanessa. Frankly, I think your presence would do more harm than good." She turned her back on me and walked toward Dad's room. Emma followed, but not before whispering loud enough for me to hear. "No one wants you here. Take a hint." I stood in that hallway for 4 hours. Nurses came and went. Doctors checked clipboards. A janitor mopped the floors twice. I sat in those uncomfortable plastic chairs, my coffee going cold, my phone dying because I'd forgotten my charger in my rush to leave campus. When a nurse finally took pity on me and slipped me a note saying Dad was stable but sedated, I felt something break inside me. I wasn't allowed to see him, my own father, and I wasn't allowed to be there. That's when the text came. Mom's final blow. "Don't come home. We've changed the locks." So there I was. 21 years old. Standing in the rain. Nowhere to go. I had my wallet, my dead phone, and the clothes on my back. My car was in the hospital parking lot, but I'd given the last of my cash to the parking meter, and my credit card was maxed out from textbooks. I couldn't even pay to get my car out of the garage. Have you ever felt so completely alone that the noise of the city sounds like it's coming from underwater? That's where I was. Numb. Invisible. 21. And erased. Vanessa Martinez? I turned. A woman stood under a black umbrella, mid-50s, wearing an expensive coat and carrying a leather briefcase. She looked like she'd stepped out of a law firm commercial. "Who's asking?" "My name is Catherine Wells. I'm an attorney. I've been looking for you for 3 days. Your college said you'd come home for a family emergency." I laughed bitterly. "Yeah. Well, my family made it clear I'm not part of their emergency." Catherine's expression softened. "I'm very sorry to hear that, but I need to talk to you about something urgent. Is there somewhere we can sit down?" "Lady, I literally have nowhere to go." She glanced at my soaked clothes, my empty hands. Without a word, she gestured to a coffee shop across the street. 20 minutes later, I was sitting in a corner booth with a hot cup of coffee I couldn't afford, staring at a woman who claimed she had information that would change my life. 3 months ago, Catherine began. A woman named Patricia Reeves passed away. She was 73 years old. Did you know her? I shook my head, the name meaning nothing. She was your father's godmother. When your dad was young, his parents died in a car accident. Patricia and her husband took him in, raised him through high school. She was, by all accounts, the closest thing to a real mother he ever had. Dad never mentioned her. That's because your mother didn't approve of their relationship. Patricia was unconventional. She believed in living boldly, taking risks, building something meaningful. She worked in disaster relief for 30 years, rebuilding communities after hurricanes, earthquakes, floods. She never had children of her own, but she poured everything into helping others. Catherine pulled out a thick folder. When Patricia knew she was dying, she created a foundation, $5 million dedicated to disaster relief training and youth education. She wanted to create the next generation of first responders and community leaders. I stared at her. That's incredible. But why are you telling me this? Because she left instructions. Very specific instructions. She wanted someone young, someone who understood what it meant to have nothing, someone who'd been overlooked and underestimated, someone who could build this foundation from the ground up, someone who would fight for it because they knew what it meant to have to fight. My coffee had gone cold in my hands. What are you saying? Patricia left you a letter. She'd been watching your life from a distance, asking your father about you. She knew your mother had been pushing you out. Knew Emma had been chosen as the golden child. She saw what was happening, and she wanted to give you a chance. Catherine slid a sealed envelope across the table. My name was written on it in shaky handwriting. Inside was a single page, the words blurry in places like the writer's hands had trembled. Dear Vanessa, if you're reading this, I'm gone. I'm sorry I never got to meet you properly. Your father spoke about you with such pride. He told me about your volunteer work at the children's hospital, how you tutored kids in underserved neighborhoods, how you dreamed of becoming a social worker even though your mother called it a waste of your potential. He told me you had his heart, the good heart, the one that sees people, not just their usefulness. I'm giving you something impossible. You have 60 days to build a functioning disaster relief training center. You need to recruit and train 50 volunteers. You need to establish partnerships with at least 3 community organizations. You need to create a curriculum that actually works. It sounds insane. It probably is insane, but if you can do this, the foundation is yours to run. All $5 million. All the resources. All the power to change lives. If you can't, the money goes to a corporate charity that will absorb it into their budget and forget Patricia Reeves ever existed. Your father's godmother believed in impossible things. She believed people were worth fighting for. She believed you were worth fighting for. Prove her right. With hope, Patricia. I read it 3 times. 4 times. The words didn't change. This is insane, I whispered. Yes, Catherine agreed. It is. But it's also real. I have the legal documents. The funding is already allocated. Patricia spent 2 years planning this before she died. She bought a property, a former community center in South Chicago that's been abandoned for 5 years. It's yours if you want it. All you have to do is make it happen. I'm 21 years old. I don't know anything about running a foundation or building a training center or any of this. Patricia didn't care about your age. She cared about your character. She saw someone who showed up even when no one wanted them there. Someone who kept trying even when their own family gave up on them. That's who she wanted running this foundation. Someone who wouldn't quit. I thought about the hospital hallway, the locked house, the text message erasing me from my own family. I thought about Emma's art studio in what used to be my bedroom, about Mom's cold eyes, about Dad sedated in a hospital bed I wasn't allowed to see. What if I fail? Then you fail. Patricia knew that was a possibility, but she also knew that most people never even get a chance to try something this big. She wanted to give you that chance. I looked out the window at the rain-soaked street. People hurried past with umbrellas, everyone going somewhere, everyone belonging somewhere. Except me. When do I start? Catherine smiled for the first time. Now. If you're ready. She handed me a key, an address, and a phone already loaded with contacts. There's an apartment above the community center. It's not fancy, but it's yours. There's food in the fridge, clothes in the closet, basic furniture. Patricia thought of everything. The rest is up to you. An hour later, I stood in front of a massive brick building in South Chicago. The windows were boarded up, graffiti covered the walls, and weeds grew through cracks in the parking lot. It looked like hope had died here years ago. I unlocked the front door and stepped inside. The air smelled like dust and old paint. Cobwebs hung from the ceiling. Water damage stained the walls. In the main room, there were torn-up chairs, broken tables, and a stage with a collapsed curtain. It was perfect. I climbed the stairs to the apartment, a small one-bedroom with a view of the street. Someone had left flowers on the kitchen counter. Fresh flowers. A note beside them read, "Welcome home. Show them what you're made of, Patricia." I sat on the floor and cried. Not sad tears. Angry tears. Determined tears. I cried for every door slammed in my face, every time I'd been told I wasn't enough, every moment I'd been erased, and then I wiped my face and got to work. Day 1. I had nothing but a building and a dream. Day 60. I needed 50 trained volunteers and 3 community partnerships. I didn't sleep. I barely ate. I worked. The first week, I cleaned. Every single room. I scrubbed floors until my hands bled. I pulled down cobwebs, patched holes in walls, replaced broken windows. The building started to breathe again. The second week, I made calls. Every disaster relief organization in Illinois. Every community center. Every volunteer coordinator. Most hung up on me. Some laughed. A 1-year-old trying to build a training center? Ridiculous. But 3 didn't laugh. 3 listened. Marcus from Chicago Community Relief said he'd help design the curriculum if I could prove people would actually show up. Sarah from Rebuilding Together said she'd donate materials if I could demonstrate we'd use them effectively. And James from Youth Crisis Response said he'd send experienced trainers if I could recruit volunteers worth training. Give me 3 weeks, I told them. I'll show you. I printed flyers. I posted on every community board, every social media group, every college campus within 50 miles. Want to learn how to save lives? Want to be there when your community needs you most? Free disaster relief training. No experience necessary. Just heart. The first night, 3 people showed up. 2 college students and a retired firefighter named Frank, who said he was bored and wanted something to do. 3 people, Frank said, looking around the empty center. You need 50. You've got 40 days. You're gonna need a miracle, kid. Then let's start building one. I taught them everything I knew, which wasn't much. We watched YouTube videos on first aid. We practiced scenarios. We learned about emergency preparedness, crisis management, community organization. And then I asked them to bring friends. They did. Week 3, we had 12 people. Week 4, 23. Word spread. College students, unemployed workers, retirees, parents, teenagers, people who wanted to matter, people who wanted to be ready when disaster struck, people who understood that community meant showing up. Marcus came and taught us about structural safety. Sarah brought supplies and taught us about resource distribution. James sent his team to run disaster simulations. By week 6, we had 47 volunteers. We needed 3 more. I stood in front of the group on day 55, 5 days before the deadline. We'd transformed the building. The main room was now a training center with proper equipment, organized supplies, and a functional command center. The stage was a simulation space where we practiced rescue scenarios. The basement was a supply depot. The second floor was offices and meeting rooms. We're almost there, I told them. 47 trained volunteers, 3 community partnerships, a functioning center. We're so close. What happens if we don't make it? Asked Maria, a nursing student who'd become one of our best trainers. I thought about Patricia's letter, about the corporate charity that would absorb everything, about how this place would go back to being an abandoned building. Then we lose everything. This center, this program, all of it disappears. But even if that happens, You don't disappear. You're trained. You're ready. You can still show up when your community needs you. Frank stood up. That's not gonna happen. My daughter's coming tomorrow. She's bringing 2 friends. That's your 50. The room erupted in cheers. I felt tears threatening again, but I held them back. We weren't done yet. We had to prove this worked. On day 60, Catherine Wells arrived with a team of evaluators. They toured the building, interviewed volunteers, reviewed our curriculum, tested our systems. They spent 8 hours watching us run disaster simulations, checking our partnerships, verifying everything. At 6 p.m., Catherine asked me to step outside. Well? I asked, my heart pounding. She smiled. 52 registered volunteers, all properly trained. 3 verified community partnerships with signed agreements. A functional training center that exceeds safety requirements. Vanessa, you did it. The foundation is yours. I should have felt triumphant. I should have celebrated. Instead, I just felt exhausted and grateful. And like maybe, finally, I belonged somewhere. There's something else, Catherine said quietly. Your father's been asking about you. He's awake now, stable. He wants to see you. My chest tightened. Did you tell my mother about any of this? No. You asked me not to. But Vanessa, your father has been asking for you every day since he woke up. Your mother keeps telling him you're too busy with school to visit. He doesn't know she locked you out. 2 days later, I drove to the hospital. My hands shook on the steering wheel. When I walked into Dad's room, he was sitting up, looking tired but alive. His face lit up when he saw me. Vanessa, God, I've missed you. I burst into tears. All the fear, all the anger, everything I'd been holding back came flooding out. He held me while I cried, confused but present. Mom told you I was too busy to visit, I finally said. That's not true. She locked me out. She told me I wasn't family. She wouldn't let me see you. Dad's face went pale. What? My 21st birthday. The day of your heart attack. She told me to leave. She changed the locks. Emma took my room. They erased me. I watched my father process this. Watched the realization dawn. Oh, sweetheart. I'm so sorry. I didn't know. Your mother told me you'd called, that you were focused on finals, that you'd visit when you could. I didn't question it. I should have. I tried, Dad. I tried so hard to be part of this family, but they don't want me. They never did. He reached for my hand. Tell me everything. Tell me what happened after the hospital. So I did. I told him about the rain, about Catherine, about Patricia's letter. I told him about the 60 days, the impossible task, the building I'd transformed. I told him about the volunteers, the partnerships, the foundation I'd built from nothing. When I finished, my father was crying. Patricia believed in you. She saw what I see, what I've always seen. You have the biggest heart of anyone I've ever known. I'm so proud of you. Mom's going to hate this. When she finds out about the foundation, about the center, she's going to make this about her somehow. Let her. Vanessa, I need to tell you something. Your mother and I have been having problems for years, since before you left for college. She's been controlling, manipulative. I stayed because I thought it was better for you girls to have both parents. But watching you succeed, despite everything she did to hold you back, watching you build something this meaningful, it's made me realize something. What? I don't want to be married to someone who treats our daughter like she's disposable. I'm going to file for divorce. Not because of what you told me, though that's certainly part of it, but because I'm tired of pretending to be happy in a marriage that died years ago. 6 months later, I stood on stage at the training center's opening ceremony. 200 people filled the room. Local politicians, community leaders, volunteers, donors. The press was there. So was Dad, healthy now, sitting in the front row. Catherine introduced me. This center represents more than disaster relief training. It represents what's possible when someone believes in you. When I first met Vanessa Martinez, she was standing in the rain with nowhere to go. Today, she's running a foundation that's trained over 200 volunteers and partnered with 15 community organizations across the Midwest. Patricia Reeves knew what she was doing when she chose Vanessa. She saw someone who wouldn't quit. Someone who understood that the people worth fighting for are the ones who've had to fight for everything. I took the microphone, looking out at faces of people I'd come to know. Frank, who'd become our lead trainer. Maria, who now ran our medical response team. Sarah and Marcus and James, who'd taken a chance on a 1-year-old with a dream. 60 days ago, I had nothing. I began. I'd been told my whole life I wasn't enough, not smart enough, not driven enough, not worth keeping around. My own family locked me out on my 21st birthday. But someone I never met believed I could do something impossible. Patricia Reeves didn't know me, but she saw something in me anyway. She gave me a chance to prove I was worth believing in. I paused, emotion catching in my throat. This center isn't mine. It belongs to every person who's ever been told they don't matter. Every kid who's been overlooked. Every adult who's been counted out. This is for anyone who's ready to show up when their community needs them. Because that's what Patricia taught me. Showing up matters. Being there matters. You matter. The room erupted in applause. I saw Dad wiping his eyes. Catherine nodding with pride. And for the first time in my life, I felt like I was exactly where I belonged. After the ceremony, as volunteers cleaned up and people filtered out, someone appeared in the doorway. My mother and Emma. They'd seen the coverage on local news, seen the foundation, seen everything I'd built. Mom's face was hard to read. Emma looked stunned. Vanessa, Mom said stiffly. We had no idea you were doing all this. You didn't ask. You locked me out and told me I wasn't family. Why are you here? I think we may have overreacted. On your birthday. With everything happening with your father, emotions were high. We should talk about this. Emma chimed in, her voice small. The center looks amazing. You did all this? I looked at them. These two people who'd spent years making me feel invisible. Part of me wanted to gloat. To tell them how well I'd done despite them. To make them feel as small as they'd made me feel. But that's not who Patricia had believed in. That's not who I wanted to be. I'm glad you came, I said carefully. But I need you to understand something. I built this without you. I survived without you. And I've learned I don't need your approval to know I matter. If you want to be part of my life now, it's on my terms. No more being erased. No more being told I'm not enough. I am enough. I've always been enough. Mom opened her mouth to argue, then closed it. For once, she had nothing to say. Emma looked at the floor. I'm sorry. For what it's worth. I'm sorry. I nodded. Thank you. That's a start. They left. Maybe they'd come back. Maybe they wouldn't. Either way, I'd be okay. That night, I sat in my office on the second floor, looking out at South Chicago. The center was quiet now, but tomorrow it would be full again. More training, more volunteers, more people learning they had what it took to show up when it mattered. My phone buzzed. A text from Dad. Proud of you doesn't even begin to cover it. Dinner next week? Just us? I smiled. Absolutely. I thought about that rainy night outside Union Station, standing there with nothing, nowhere to go, completely lost. If someone had told me then that I'd be here now, running a foundation, training volunteers, changing lives, I wouldn't have believed them. But that's the thing about impossible things. They're only impossible until someone decides they're worth fighting for. Patricia Reeves had believed I was worth fighting for, and she'd given me the chance to prove she was right. Not with money or easy answers or shortcuts. With an impossible task in 60 days and a belief that I had what it took. She'd been right. I did. And now, every day, I got to help other people discover they had it too. That they mattered. That they were worth believing in. That impossible was just another word for not yet. I pulled out Patricia's letter one more time, reading the closing line. She believed you were worth fighting for. Prove her right. I had. And I'd keep proving it. Every single day. Because that was the real inheritance. Not the money, or the building, or the foundation. It was the belief that I could do impossible things. That I mattered. That I was enough. My mother had tried to erase me. Instead, she'd set me free. And I'd built something that would outlast all of us. Something that mattered. Something real. 60 days to change everything. Turns out, that was more than enough time. It was exactly the time I needed to become who I was always meant to be.